Xin chào mừng tất cả quý vị đã đến với kênh YouTube của Trần Michael. Chương trình của chiều nay thứ 3 ngày 6 tháng 4 năm 2026. Và bây giờ Trần Michael xin mời quý vị tới với những diễn biến của cuộc họp báo hôm nay của Tổng thống Trump với ông Bộ trưởng Chiến vụ Pete Hegseth và ông Tổng tham mưu trưởng tướng Kênh. Thì xin cáo lỗi cùng quý vị là Trần Michael đang dùng cái system mới như Trần Michael có nói đó, mà không biết sao cái camera nó bị gặp vấn đề rồi, nên là Trần Michael phải chèn cái hình động của Trần Michael vô. Nhưng mà Trần Michael vẫn là đang làm cái livestream này nha, vẫn là tương tác trực tiếp với quý vị. Xin quý vị tiếp tục nhấn nút like và subscribe cho kênh YouTube của Trần Michael để chương trình của chúng ta vượt qua được những thuật toán của YouTube và tự động chia sẻ, gợi ý đề xuất tới cho nhiều người được biết hơn. Xin cảm ơn quý vị và bây giờ mời quý vị cùng nghe phần Tổng thống Trump họp báo nha. Mời quý vị.
Very little cover, unbelievable stealth planes, and they were able to do their job. If we didn't do that, Iran would have had a nuclear weapon at a high level, either one of those two instances. And if they did, in my opinion, I told this to Bibi Netanyahu yesterday, Israel would have been extinguished. Large portions of the Middle East would have been extinguished, whether it's Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, or others. And you saw that with thousands of missiles raining down upon them. They didn't think they were going to be hit. They thought they'd be watching us fight. And all of a sudden, UAE got hit by 1,500 missiles. He would have taken them out also. And they were powerful. If I didn't come along and terminate the Obama deal, which was terrible, the Iran nuclear deal was a road to a nuclear weapon, a big one, unlimited, legally. I terminated it without even much thought. It was so easy. I terminated that, and then the B-2 bombers. And I did one other thing. I had killed Qasem Soleimani, who was an evil genius. And the reason I did it, I heard he was going to knock out 5 of our military bases. And had he lived, I believe we would be fighting perhaps a different Iran right now, because he's never been replaced, you know. And I did one other, but this one was not picked up. Osama bin Laden. If you read my book, I said you got to take him out 1 year before the World Trade Center came down. So I wish you'd read the book. But you, as a president, to be a good president, I believe you have to have good instincts. And a lot of this is instinct. Yeah, please.
Thank you so much for taking my questions, Mr. President. Mr. President, last week you suggested that Europe should take the lead on reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Has circumstances changed now that you're issuing a direct 48-hour ultimatum? And secondly, would a new ceasefire include Israel, or would it just be between Iran and the US?
I can't talk about ceasefire, but I can tell you that we have a active, willing participant on the other side. They would like to be able to make a deal. I can't say any more than that.
You've listed the goals. Excuse me.
Please, go ahead.
You've listed the goals.
Who you with?
My name is Diyar Kurd. I'm with the largest Kurdish media outlet, Rudal Media Network. It's based in Iran.
Go ahead.
Mr. President, you said before that you don't want the Kurdish forces to enter Iran and deharm it. Do you still want them to stay away? Or what role do you expect them to play now?
I'd rather have them stay away. I'd rather have them stay away because I think they bring with them some problems and some difficulties. And I don't think they bring death, to themselves. But I'd rather have them stay away. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President, for the question. Deliberate attacks on civilian infrastructure violate the Geneva Conventions and international law.
Who are you with?
I'm with the New York Times. Zolan from the New York Times. Are you
failing?
Are you concerned?
Circulation way down at the New York Times.
Are you concerned that your threat to bomb power plants and bridges amount to war crimes?
No. I hope I don't have to do it. But again, I just said 47 years they've been negotiating with these people. They're great negotiators, and because they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. And if somebody that takes my place someday is weak and ineffective, which possibly that will happen because we had numerous presidents that were weak, ineffective, and afraid of Iran, we're never going to let Iran have a nuclear weapon. And
Và ông
if
vẫn
you
nhắc
think
lại
it's okay for people that are
tôn
sick
chỉ
of
là Iran
mind,
không
that
được
are
phép có vũ khí
tough,
nguyên tử.
smart, and sick, really sick, from a policy standpoint, from a standpoint, any which way you want to say, mentally, these are disturbed people. If you think I'm going to allow them, and powerful and rich, to have a nuclear weapon, you can tell your friends at the New York Times, not going to happen.
That means violating international law.
Quiet. You no longer have credibility at the New York Times because the New York Times said, oh, Trump won't win the election and I won in a landslide. I won every swing state. New York Times said, oh, Trump won't win the election. New York Times has no credibility. The credibility they have is it used to be all the news is fit to print. The old gray lady, it was great, but they're running on past fumes, and you can't keep doing that. You have to be able to give the correct news, and people like you, who I know, are fake. You're fake. Go ahead, please.
Your messaging on the war has moved from the war is coming to an end to war going to be bombing Iran to the Stone Ages, right. And we've heard a range of those kind of messages. So which is it? Are you winding this down or are you escalating
I can't tell you. I don't know.
I
can't tell you. Depends what they do. This is a critical period. They have a period of, till tomorrow at 8 o'clock. I gave them an extension. They asked for an extension of 7 days, right? I said, Steve, give them 10 days. 10 days is up actually today, so I gave them 11, I guess indirectly. I thought it was inappropriate the day after Easter. I want to be a nice person.
8 giờ tối giờ miền Đông Hoa Kỳ thứ ba là 8 giờ tối mai đó.
Now we'll see what happens. I can tell you they're negotiating, we think, in good faith. We're going to find out. We're getting the help of some incredible countries that want this to be ended because it affects them also. A lot of people are affected by this. But we're giving them till tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And after that, they're going to have no bridges. They're going to have no power plants. Stone Ages, yeah. Stone Ages. CNN fake news.
Are you willing to make a deal that does not include reopening the Strait of Hormuz, or is that now a top priority?
I would say it's a very big priority because
câu hỏi là ngài có chấp nhận một cái điều mà không có yếu tố mở
we can bomb the hell out of them, we can knock them out for a little. But to close the strait, all you need is one terrorist that somehow has a truck loaded with, because you can carry them in trucks, large trucks, a water mine, drop them in the water, and now you tell people that own ships that cost $1 billion to don't worry about the mine. You can do that even just by saying we put mines in the water. So it's not like the rest. We can knock out their military. We already have. We've knocked out their Navy. We've knocked out their Air Force completely. We've knocked out 158 ships in 3 days. We've knocked out even their mine droppers. They don't have any mine droppers anymore, but they put them on other boats, and they could drop them. I'm not even sure they have any mines there, by the way. I'm not sure. I'm personally, they say there might be 8. I don't know. I think there might be none. Because they're very good bullshit artists. That's why for 47 years they've been bullshitting other presidents, and they haven't done the job. And people are living in hell. You live in that country, they're living in hell. No, I think that 47 years of this stuff is long enough. They're at the weakest point they've ever been. They have no Navy, they have no Air Force, they have no anti-aircraft weaponry, they have no radar, they have no communication. In fact, the biggest problem we have in our negotiation is that they can't communicate. I said to Steve, what are they saying? Sir, they can't communicate. They have no method of communication. So we're communicating like they used to communicate 2,000 years ago with children, bringing a note back and forth. They have no communication. But all I want to see is I want to have a safe world. And you're not going to have a safe world. Israel will be gone. The Middle East will be gone. And then they're coming for Europe. And I have to tell you, I'm very disappointed in NATO. Very. I think that NATO, I think it's a mark on NATO that will never disappear. Never disappear in my mind. You know, they're coming to see me on Wednesday. They're going to say, oh, we'll do this, we'll do that. Now they all of a sudden want to send things, you know. But they said it loud and clear at the beginning when I spoke to UK of all. I would have said they would have been the first because they've been They're the oldest. And I say, yeah, I'd love to have a little help. He said, no, sir, we'd rather wait till you win. I said, I don't need help after we win. They have two old broken aircraft carriers, barely work. I said, I guess we can use them. Who the hell knows? I called the general. He didn't even want them. He said, we don't really need them. We got the SS Abraham Lincoln, sir. We don't need them. Do you know, we have, in terms of technology, we had one day 101 missiles going at 2,700 miles an hour, aimed at the Abraham Lincoln. 101 missiles. Out of 101 missiles, 101 missiles were shot down. Unbelievable technology. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I don't know if that would have been possible, but 10 years ago, that wouldn't have been possible. 101 missiles heading to a ship that's not that far off the coast. And out of the 101 missiles, we shot down all 101. We have weaponry. The Patriots are unbelievable. We have weaponry that's unbelievable, yeah.
Just to clarify.
Bà con vô coi đông nó cứ đứng luôn hay sao trời?
Venezuela, as you know, the war was over in about 45 minutes. And we have great people running Venezuela, very good people. I mean, the relationship is good. And we are a partner with Venezuela. And we've taken hundreds of millions of barrels, hundreds of millions. Over 100 million barrels already is in Houston, refined and out. And paid for that war many, many times over, many times over. You know, the old days, to the victim. Okay, you know that.
Rồi,
to the
sau đó
to
là
the
Mỹ
winner
lấy được rất
belong
là
the
nhiều
spoils.
hàng
Go
triệu
the
những
spoils.
cái
And I've said,
thùng
why don't
dầu.
we use it? To the victor, go the spoils. And we don't have that. We haven't had that in this country probably in 100 years, because even the Second World War, you look at the Second World War, we didn't have it with the Second World. We helped rebuild all those countries. We rebuilt Germany. How about Germany telling us that, well, it's not their war. We had nothing to do with it. They wanted me to go and tell them everything I was doing. We didn't know anything about it. Well, if I would have told them, they would have leaked it,
rất là vô ơn.
and we wouldn't have been nearly as successful,
Bây giờ
possibly,
lại bảo
right?
rằng là ô phải cuộc chiến
But
của
to
họ,
the
mà
victor
trong
belong
khi
the
là các
spoils.
nước nhỏ
So
rất là
we
phụ thuộc vô
haven't
cái
heard that
hệ biển Hormuz
I think maybe
trong
hundreds
việc
of
vận
years.
chuyển dầu.
Now with Venezuela, and we just so you understand, the people of Venezuela, they say if I ran for president of Venezuela,
Và
I'm
thậm chí
polling
là
higher than anybody has
có
ever
những
polled
người
in
dân
Venezuela. So
của
after I'm
Venezuela thì
finished with
họ là
this, I
nếu
can
mà
go
tôi
to
tranh cử tổng
Venezuela.
thống là
I will
uy tín
quickly
tôi
learn
cao hơn
Spanish.
nữa
It
đó.
won't take too
Cái
long.
điểm
I'm good
là
at language.
họ
And
tín
I will
nhiệm
go
tôi
to
cao
Venezuela.
hơn
I'm going
nữa.
to run for president. But we're very happy with the president-elect that we have right now.
Nhưng mà
The people
tôi
that
đâu
are
cần
running
chuyện
it.
đó, nhưng mà bây giờ mình đang
If
rất
you
là hài
remember
lòng với
Bush
cái bà tổng
with
thống
Iraq,
lên thời của
They
Venezuela.
fired the generals, they fired the police, they fired the people that worked in
Bà ta
there.
đưa ra nhiều cái cải tổ,
Equivalent of the White House. They fired everybody.
các tướng lãnh
And
là
you know what
quân
they
đội,
had? They had a
cảnh sát
mess.
này
And
kia
you know what
mọi thứ.
happened? ISIS
Để mà
formed.
thay đổi.
Those generals and those soldiers got together, the police got together, they all got together, they formed ISIS. Not going to happen with us. So Venezuela has been an incredible situation.
Và
We went
vì vậy
in,
mà tính
we
ra
were
thì cái
very
chuyện
successful,
Venezuela nó lại
military
rất là
power like
tuyệt
nobody's
vời.
ever seen. The
Những
general,
cái kết quả rất là
Venezuelan general said, I was
tốt
on
đẹp.
that site. I said, I've never seen ferocity like that. I've been doing this for 40 years. He said, I've never seen it. They hit us from 17 different, they were all set. They saw that big, beautiful aircraft carrier, the Ford in that case, and planes were pouring off it at 1 o'clock in the morning. So typically when you see that late at night, you know, you could be in trouble, right?
Bên quân đội của họ nó đã thấy những chiếc hàng không mẫu hạm của mình ở trong đêm.
And they had Chinese
Và họ biết
equipment. It was
rằng
all
là khi
set. They were
mà
going to give us a
buổi
fight.
giờ đêm tối mà thấy được những
said,
chiếc
and
đó
then
là
they
họ gặp
came,
rắc rối rồi đó.
And they came at speeds like we've never seen.
Và ông
And they
tường thuật
came
lại
at
cái chiến dịch
17
mà đi bắt
different
Maduro được
angles.
thực hiện là chớp
The
nhoáng.
general and his people, that was a lot of angles. They hit him from every angle. He said, we knew it was over in 3 minutes. We were waiting for him. Their equipment didn't work. And there's a reason it didn't work. Someday we'll explain that to
Tổng thống đang
people.
kể lại cái chiến
They
dịch ở
pressed the
Venezuela
button,
đó
nothing
là
happened.
đã
They pressed it
kiên
again
nhẫn
and
chờ
again,
đợi.
nothing happened.
3 tiếng đồng
And he
hồ.
said, we knew
Và
this
cái
whole
hệ
thing
thống
was over in
của
3 minutes. We've never seen
Venezuela thì
any.
nó không có hoạt động
He
được.
used the word ferocity. The ferocity of these planes from 17 different angles, and it was over. They went inside.
Xin lỗi quý vị.
And remember, that was on a military base with thousands of soldiers. And those soldiers looked and they said, get the hell out of here. Thousands. We didn't have thousands. We had
Và
like
chúng
200
tôi
people.
đã thực hiện cái chiến dịch
So,
rất là nhanh chóng
we have
và
a
sau đó
great
là chúng tôi rút
military.
ra khỏi
And
khu
I'll
vực
tell
này
you
ngay
what,
lập tức.
somehow this rescue captured the world's attention, more so than normally. You're talking about 2 people. But this rescue captured the world's attention. But we did it in
Và trở
Venezuela.
về
That
cái chiến
was
dịch mà đi
amazing.
giải
And now
cứu
we have a
ông
very
đại
bad
tá
man
phi
in
công á, thì
prison and going to
cái
trial. I
chiến
mean,
dịch này đã
he
thu hút được
released-
sự chú ý của toàn thế giới.
aside from the drugs, which he was terrible, Maduro released hundreds of thousands of
Và-
people from jails
và sau
into
đó thì
our
họ
country.
đã
Drug
giải
dealers,
thoát ở bên
murderers,
Venezuela đó thì
the
họ giải
worst
thoát,
people in the
gọi là
world
thả
were
hàng
released
trăm
into
tù
our
nhân
country
ở trong các
because
nhà
we had a
tù ra.
stupid president who probably didn't know, and we had a border czar who never went to the border and never once called our great border patrol agents, right? Not once,
Và
Kamala. She
mình
never
làm
called
được
the
những điều
border
đó, nó
patrol.
khác biệt hoàn
She
toàn.
never said,
Nếu
how
trước
we doing?
đó
I used
có
to call the
những
border
vị
patrol
tổng
guys
thống
every
là
day.
những
You
người
could
dốt
ask them, Paul, ask any one of them.
cả một con
Brandon, ask him.
chùm
All
biên
the time.
giới
How we
không bao
doing? How
giờ
we
tới
doing?
biên giới, không bao
And we
giờ
now, I'm
gặp
proud to say, have a
những người
totally
lực
sealed
lượng bảo vệ
border.
biên giới
9
cả.
months, nobody is coming through our border. And nobody even tries because they know they're not going to get through. So we don't have caravans anymore. All right. So maybe 1 or 2 more and we'll be done.
Một hai câu hỏi nữa là
Are you
xong.
allowed to, or are you willing to end this conflict with Iran charging tolls for passage through the strait?
Us charging tolls?
Iran.
What about us charging tolls?
Is that something you're considering?
I'd rather do that than let them have them, right? Why shouldn't we? We're the winner. We won. Okay?
Ngài có đồng
They are
ý, cái
militarily
điều mà Jay
defeated.
đang, có thể
The only
làm
thing
xếp
they
ra
have
công
is the
cụ để mà
psychology of, oh, we're
tính
going to
tiền
drop a couple of
những cái tàu đi qua
mines in the
Hormuz
water,
không,
all
tàu
right?
không nói là
No, we
Đâu
have
sao?
a
Tại
concept
vì
where
mình
we'll
thắng mà.
charge tolls. Okay? I thought you meant us. Your question would have been more accurate if you said us. Go ahead.
câu hỏi của bạn
Just
thật
to
là chán ngắt.
clarify, in order for Iran to successfully meet your deadline tomorrow, do they have to make a deal, open the strait, or both?
We have to have a deal that's acceptable to me.
Để điều
And
kiện
part of
mà
that deal is
Iran
going to
có
be
thể
we
được
want
ngày tha đó
free
thì
traffic of oil
họ phải
and
là
everything
đạt
else.
deal mở luôn Hormuz ngày thứ hai, có nghĩa là phải đã có cái deal cái đã.
Thank you very much. You said glory be to God in this conflict. Do you believe that God supports the United States' actions in this
I do
war?
because
And have you
God
sought
is
His
good.
direction?
Because God is good,
Câu hỏi
and God wants to see
là
people
Ngài có viết ở trong cái bài
taken
đăng
care of.
của
God
Ngài
doesn't
đó
like what's happening.
là
I don't like what's happening. Everyone says I don't enjoy this. I
Ngài
don't
ca,
enjoy.
ca
These two
tụng
guys
Chúa
don't
thì Ngài
enjoy
có
it.
nghĩ
You know,
rằng
people
là
say,
Chúa
"Oh
sẽ
boy,
ủng hộ
they're
cho
so
cái
tough."
này hay
They don't
không
want-
thì
they don't like- I don't
tổng
like
thống nói là
seeing people killed.
đương nhiên
I've
chứ
ended
tại Chúa
8
là
wars.
đấng tốt lành mà.
Nobody's
Nên là
ever
ai
done it.
làm cái điều tốt thì
The person who
Chúa
won the
phải
Nobel
nên
Prize
là
came
Chúa
to
sẽ
me
chúc
and
lành
said,
thôi.
"You deserve the Nobel Prize." She announced that when they announced. They said, "Goes to Maria. She's a great person, really a good person." She said, "No, no, no. This is ridiculous." They gave me the Nobel
Tổng thống nhắc
Prize.
lại cái
President
giải
Trump
Nobel
ended
đó thì
8
lúc
wars. I
mà
could go over
họ,
every one of them,
công
including
bố
India
cho
and
ông,
Pakistan,
cho
where the
bà
Prime
Machado
Minister of
đó thì
Pakistan
bà
said
Machado
President
cũng nói là,
Trump
cái gì không có được rồi,
saved
cái
from
này là
30
phải,
to 50 million
cho tổng
lives.
thống Trump chứ.
That makes me much happier than what we're doing right now. That makes me much happier. We have one more to end, by the way.
You called yesterday in your Truth Social, you called the Iranians crazy bastards.
True.
What is your response to critics who say that
I don't care about critics.
What is your response to critics who say that it is your mental health that should perhaps be examined as this war continues?
I haven't heard that. But if that's the case, you're going to have more people like me because our country was being ripped off on trade, on everything for many years until I came along. So if that's the case, you're going to have more people. Dasha, go ahead. Dasha, go.
You said that very little is off limits in Iran as far as targeting,
Yeah.
including power plants, bridges, you've mentioned those.
Very little is off limits.
Are there certain kinds of civilian targets, though? I'm thinking schools
I don't want to
or
tell you
hospitals
that.
you
I don't want
would
to
say
tell
is
you
off-
that. We have
cơ sở dân
a
sự
plan
đang không, thì
because
tổng
of
thống
the
là tôi
power
không có
of
trả
our
lời.
military. Where every bridge in Iran will be decimated by 12 o'clock tomorrow night. Where every power plant in Iran will be out of business, burning, exploding, and never to be used again. I mean, complete demolition by 12 o'clock. And it'll happen over a period of 4 hours if we wanted to. We don't want that to happen.
8 giờ tối mai,
We may even
nếu
get
như mà
involved
Iran
with
không đạt được
helping them
deal,
rebuild their
thì các cây
nation.
cầu và
And you know what? If
nhà
that's
máy
the
điện
case, the
của
last
Iran
thing we
sẽ
want
bị
to do
phá
is
hủy
start with
hoàn
power
toàn.
plants, which are
Và
among the
tất cả
most
những mục tiêu
expensive
đó
thing,
sẽ
and
bị
bridges.
phá hủy chỉ trong vòng
You saw
4
the
tiếng đồng hồ
bridge,
thôi, là tới
one.
12 giờ
We
là
were
coi như
very
không còn
close
gì để
to a
xài
deal.
hết.
And then I got a call from Mr. Witkoff, Mr. Kushner, and JD saying, I think they're breaking the deal. I said, tell them that's okay, don't worry about it. But tell them to look out their window and watch. And within
Tôi đã nhận cuộc gọi của nhóm đàm phán nói rằng là có thể nó break the deal đó, thì tổng thống nói là không sao, cứ nhìn ra ngoài cửa sổ đi rồi biết à.
And within 10 minutes after I gave that order, that bridge was over.
Và ví dụ như tôi đã ra lệnh là cho một cái không kích một cái cầu chỉ cần 10 phút thôi là cái cầu đó banh chành hết rồi. Và nếu như Iran để tôi phải ra tay thì mất cả 100 năm mới có thể tái thiết được.
To rebuild their country, and it would never be as good as it was. And the only way they're going to be able to rebuild their country is to utilize the genius of the United States of America.
Và cái cách duy nhất mà Iran nếu có thể tái thiết được đó là nhờ vào cái sự thiên tài của Mỹ thôi.
Is there a danger to the U.S. not being the de facto of the leader of the alliance, and then other powers within the alliance then getting the decision making when it comes to wars and nuclear weapons?
No, it's not a danger. Look, we went to NATO. I didn't ask very strongly. I just said, hey, if you want to help, great. No, we will not help.
Câu hỏi tiếp tục là dành cho Tổng thống Trump là về cái vai trò các tổ chức quốc tế là EU hay là UN
See,
hay là
NATO is a
NATO.
paper tiger. Putin's not afraid of NATO. Putin's afraid of us, very afraid of us.
Tổng thống nói rằng là đó, nhưng mà các bạn thấy cái sự thất vọng mà bấy lâu nay NATO họ làm đó, thì họ cũng chẳng khác gì con hổ giấy. Putin nó chả sợ NATO đâu. Putin chỉ sợ Mỹ thôi.
We didn't need them, obviously, because they haven't helped
Thực
at
sự ra
all.
mình cũng chẳng cần
Just
họ
the
đâu.
opposite. They've actually gone out of their way not to help. They didn't even want to give us landing strips.
Và
Think of it. And it's not just NATO.
thậm chí họ còn không cho mình sử dụng một số những cái phi đạo để mà mình hạ cánh cái phi cơ của mình nữa.
You know who else didn't help us? Japan. We've got 50,000 soldiers in Japan to protect them from North Korea. We have 45,000 soldiers in South Korea to protect us from Kim Jong-un, who I get along with very well, as you know. Do you notice he said very nice things about me? He used to call Joe Biden a mentally retarded person, okay? So don't tell me about your stuff. Joe Biden, he said he's a mentally retarded person. He was so nasty to Joe Biden, it was terrible. But to me, he likes Trump. And you notice how nice things are with North Korea? It's very nice. But we have 45,000 people, soldiers, in harm's way, and right next to Kim Jong-un with a lot of nuclear weapons. 45, which should have never happened if a certain president, I'm not going to mention this president because I happen to like him, believe it or not, but if a certain president did his job, Kim Jong-un would not have nuclear weapons right now. But they're all afraid to do their job properly. But just to conclude and just to finish, Japan didn't help us, Australia didn't help us, South Korea didn't help us, and then you get to NATO, NATO didn't help us. There were some countries that did. Now, countries that have been good, now you could also say they're got to be a little bit more involved because they're in the territory, but Saudi Arabia has been excellent, Qatar has been excellent, UAE has been excellent, Bahrain, Kuwait. I mean, Kuwait did shoot down 3 of our planes. The only planes really that we lost with friendly fire, they call it. I call it unfriendly fire. They unfortunately didn't know how to use our great
Các nước vào trong NATO nè, rồi cả Đại Hàn,
said, what kind of a missiles coming at us? Patriot. Boom. They got out.
Nhưng mà các nước ở Trung Đông
because they
thì
know a
rất là
Patriot
tốt.
never misses. So they had beautiful Patriots. There were planes heading in their direction. Unfortunately, they decided to shoot those planes. They were our planes. So, NATO is a paper tiger. Now, he's coming to see me on Wednesday, as you know. He's a wonderful guy. Secretary General is great.
NATO đã tới
And
gặp
Mark
Tổng thống.
Rutte. He's a great person, but
Một người rất là
he's
tốt.
got... And you know, it all began with, if you want to know the truth, Greenland.
Và
We want Greenland.
cũng như là cái
They
chuyện
don't want
này
to
đó,
give it
một
to us,
phần
and I
nó
said,
cũng có liên quan tới
bye bye.
Greenland nữa.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Rồi bây giờ chắc rằng Michael tua lại với quý vị khúc đầu đi.
Strong group.
Khúc đầu đi, khúc đầu mình lỡ khúc đầu ha.
Thank you
Bây
very
giờ nghe
much.
khúc này ha. Nãy là phần trả lời câu hỏi, giờ mình tua lại cái khúc mà tổng thống đọc những cái tổng kết và tin tức tình báo nha.
To be with you and happy Easter. We had a great Easter. This is one of our better Easters, I think, in a lot of different ways. I can say militarily, it's been one of the best. So, good afternoon. We have quite a bit to discuss. We'll go into pretty good detail. And we have the people that are most involved. We'll give you exactitude. And we're here today to celebrate the success of one of the largest, most complex, most harrowing combat searches. I guess you would call it a search and rescue mission ever attempted by the military. Generally, when planes are knocked down in war, especially when you're fighing a strong group,
đây là một trong những chiến dịch giải cứu cam go nhất, phức tạp nhất.
200 men to pick up one, and it's something that's usually not attempted as much as you want to attempt. And bad things happen to that one or two. And in this case, we did two, and it might not have been attempted before, but we did. And we had great talent. We got a little luck too, I would say.
Tổng thống nói là ngoài cái chuyện mình
we were helped by a lot of people, a lot of great
để
people.
mà cứu được
And it was an honor to be involved with it.
Thì mình cũng có một chút may mắn trong đó.
Very historic. This is a rescue that's very historic. It'll go down in the books. Late Thursday night, an American F-15 fighter jet went down deep inside enemy territory in Iran while participating in Operation Epic Fury, where we're doing unbelievably well, well at a level that nobody's ever seen before. The entire country can be taken out in one night, and that night might be tomorrow night. Both members of the crew ejected from the aircraft and landed alive. On Iranian soil, I immediately was asked to make a decision. I ordered the U.S. Armed Forces to do whatever was necessary to bring our brave warriors back home. A risky decision. Because we could have ended up with 100 dead as opposed to one or two. It's a hard decision to make. But in the United States military, we leave no American behind. We don't do it. Within hours, our armed forces deployed 21 military aircraft into hostile airspace, many flying at very low altitude, being shot by bullets. You bring rifles into play when you go in that low. There are also certain advantages. And in broad daylight over Iran for 7 hours at times facing very, very heavy enemy fire. We have a helicopter. We just realized how good those weapons are. Those our machines are. Nobody has the equipment that we have, and nobody has the military that we have. Not even close. The most powerful military anywhere in the world by far. The flight crews and warfighters aboard those aircraft took extraordinary risks to rescue their fellow service members. This first wave of search and rescue forces successfully located the pilot of the F-15, and he was extracted from enemy territory by an HH-60 Jolly Green II helicopter. Fabulous machine as our warriors faced gunfire at very close range. It's amazing that when you look at the machinery, what happened, that nobody was even injured. Meanwhile, the second crew member, a weapons system officer, highly respected colonel, had landed a significant distance away from the pilot. When you're going at those speeds, even if you go out 2 or 3 seconds later, it's miles and miles away. Because you're going fast. He was injured quite badly and stranded in an area teeming with terrorists from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps rough group, as well as besieged militia and local authorities. Many, on top of everything else, they told the communities actually within inside of Iran, the people of Iran, they were given a tremendous incentive to find this pilot. Despite the peril, the officer followed his training and climbed into the treacherous mountain terrain and started climbing toward a higher altitude, something they were trained to do in order to evade capture. They want to always go as far away from the site of the shoot-down. You want to go as far away because they all head right to that site. You want to be as far away as you can. And he was injured, and he was an amazing, amazing thing. He scaled cliff faces, bleeding rather profusely, treated his own wounds, and contacted American forces to transmit his location. They have a very sophisticated beeper-type apparatus that is on them at all times. And when they go out on these missions, they make sure they have lots of battery space, and they're in good shape. And this one worked really well, amazingly, saved his life. We immediately mobilized a massive operation to retrieve him from the mountain holdout, and he kept going higher and higher. The mountain kept getting rougher and rougher, and really very, very hard to find. The second rescue mission involved 155 aircraft, including 4 bombers, 64 fighters, 48 refueling tankers, 13 rescue aircraft, and more. We were bringing them all over, and a lot of it was subterfuge. We wanted to have them think he was in a different location because they had a vast military force out there. Thousands of people were looking. So we wanted them to look in different areas, so we were scattered all over like we were right on top of them. There's 7 different locations where they thought, and they were very confused. They said, well, wait a minute, they've got groups here, they've got groups there. It's amazing. I was listening to these great people, these great generals. General Raisin Kane was amazing, and Pete Hegseth was amazing. But I listened to the whole thing. It was pretty amazing. So they had all these different sites where everybody thought he was located. We think we have him over there because they have 9 planes circling a little area that's 25 miles down the coast. So in a breathtaking show of skill and precision, lethality and force, America's military descended on the area, the real area, engaged the enemy, rescued the stranded officer, destroyed all threats, and exited Iranian territory while taking no casualties of any kind. The heroic F-15 weapon system officer had evaded capture on the ground in Iran for almost 48 hours. That's a long time when you're in tough shape and when you're bleeding. It's a long time. When we left, as you probably know, we had 2 large planes, pretty old planes. It carried a lot. We needed a lot more equipment going in than coming out, obviously, because going in, we needed to be able to scale mountains, and we had a lot of equipment. But the sand was sandy, wet sand, so we thought there may be a problem taking off because of the weight of the plane, and then we also had all the men jumping back onto the planes, and they got pretty well bogged down, and we had a contingency plan which was unbelievable, where lighter, faster aircraft came in, and they took them out. We blew up the old planes. We blew them up to smithereens because we had equipment on the planes that frankly we'd like to take, but I don't think it was worthwhile spending another 4 hours there taking it off. So we didn't want anybody to have, we have the best equipment anywhere in the world. We didn't want anybody examining our anti-aircraft and other equipment. So these were large planes that were old and pretty old, and we blew them up, and we had faster, lighter planes come in, and they were able to land on the sand. We needed the bigger planes because we had so much equipment that we needed. We took 3 helicopters over there, which were very strongly used, and couldn't have lived without them. They performed unbelievably well. And if you'd see it, you wouldn't believe it. They came off the plane, and these guys had them, the the rotors were off. They rebuilt these helicopters in less than 10 minutes. And that was one of the more amazing things. These are helicopters, small, unbelievably powerful,
có một số những trực
but
thăng bị trúng
small,
đạn đó,
very
nhưng
small, so
mà
it can
bên
get into
quân đội
certain
á, họ
areas.
đã xuống và họ làm
And they got
coi như là
them
chỉnh sửa lại
off
cái
the
chiếc
plane, and they
trực
rebuilt
thăng này chỉ trong
all
vòng có
three
10
of
phút
them
thôi, vô
in a
cùng ấn
matter
tượng.
of less than, I would say less than 10 minutes. It's pretty amazing what the genius of these people. Who would think that? You'd think it would take 5 days to build them. And in some companies it would take 5 days, and they wouldn't do it well. But they served us well. As Commander-in-Chief, I never forget the extraordinary risk taken by the warriors that we send into battle, and the genius. I mean, think of it, having a contingency of 3 planes waiting because we think the sand is so bad that we probably won't be able to take off. And the planes really got bogged. This was not much of a runway. This was a farm, not a runway. It's a farm, but it did the trick. But to have a contingency as opposed to having to wait 2 days, can you imagine, right in the middle? This was central. This was right, you would call it central casting if you were doing a movie for location. And probably the toughest area of Iran where we'd be sitting there. So these planes came in, those pilots came in so fast and so quick and got out of there. Everybody got aboard and just got 15-minute intervals. One load out, one load out, one load out. It happened. And we were watching, and we said, "That's amazing." In many ways,
các phi cơ đó lần lượt là cho hạ xuống, tức là cho lính xuống, rồi sau đó là vớt cánh lên đi liền. Và chúng tôi đã theo dõi từng giây một, và cái cảnh tượng đó vô cùng ấn tượng. Tạ ơn Chúa là từng người lính tham gia vào chiến dịch giải cứu này đã được bình an.
If you look at what we did with Maduro, we went into a military compound, a massive, with thousands and thousands of soldiers, and within a matter of minutes. And he lived behind iron doors. There were steel doors, broke them down so quickly. And within almost minutes, he was in the back of these planes. It was a similar group. Incredible. We have incredibly talented people. And if the time comes, we move heaven and earth to bring them home safely. We're going to bring our people home safely.
Và mình đã làm,
I want to thank every member of the U.S. Armed Forces involved in these historic operations. They really were historic. It's just not something that's done. And you'd understand it. Not that they don't want to do it, but when you're going into areas, when you look at these helicopters, when you look at the amount of bullets and everything else that they took, when you go into these areas, you don't come out like we came out. God was watching us. I tell you, well, it was the Easter, we were in an Easter territory, I guess, but God was watching us. Amazing. Because when you look at the machinery, they took damage. It tells you, first thing I said is, these are unbelievable machines, how they flew back and not even much of a problem. But these 2 extraordinary rescues, because it was 2, and as you probably know, we didn't talk about the first one for an hour, and then somebody leaked something, which we'll hopefully find that leaker. We're looking very hard to find that leaker.
Và tổng thống nói là cái chuyện mà đi giải cứu phi công và cũng như là cái người ông đại tá thứ nhì đó là lúc đầu không được nói ra, nhưng mà sau đó thì có một đứa nào đó leak cái thông tin này ra, rồi các tờ báo nó bắt đầu leak ra, nên mình sẽ đi tìm cái
media company that released it.
Đi tìm cái đứa nào là đứa xì tin ra.
National security, give it up or go to jail.
Và cái nhà đài nào, cái thằng phóng viên nào mà xì cái tin này ra sẽ bị tước giấy tờ an ninh và cũng sẽ phải đi tù.
The entire country of Iran knew that there was a pilot that was somewhere on their land that was fighting for his life.
Tại vì điều đó rất là nguy hiểm, nó khiến cho Iran nó biết được là có một phi công đang ở trên cái lãnh thổ của nó.
All of a sudden, they know that there's somebody out there. They see all these planes coming in. It became a much more difficult operation.
Đúng rồi, thì
because a leaker leaked that we have one, we've rescued one, but there's another one out there that we're trying to get. So actually, the country, Iran, put out a major notice, you all saw it, offering a very big
Cho
award
nên
for
là dựa
anybody
vào
that
cái tin mà
captures the
tụi nó
pilot.
leak ra như
So in
vậy đó,
addition to a
thì
hostile,
Iran nó mới là
very
đưa ra cái
talented,
giải
very
thưởng.
good,
Nó
very
treo
evil
thưởng
military.
55.000, 60.000
We had
gì cho ai bắt được, tìm được
millions of people
ông
trying to
đại
get
tá
an
đó.
award. So when you add that to it, but we have to find that leaker because that's a sick person. Probably didn't realize the extent of how bad it was. I can't imagine that the person did, but we're going to find out. It's national security, and the person that did the story will go to jail if he doesn't say, and that doesn't last long. And I think everybody would
Và
understand.
ông
They
nhắc là
put
một
this
lần nữa là
mission
cái
at
thằng
great
nào mà
risk.
là cái thằng
They
leak cái
put
tin
that
tức
man
này
at
ra
great
đó
risk,
là
and they
nó
put
sẽ
the
đi tù.
hundreds of people that went in looking for him, because everyone now knows that we're going in. Over the past 37 days, America's armed forces have carried out more than 10,000 combat flights over Iran, unheard of, striking more than 13,000 targets. The F-15 we
Mỹ
lost
đã
last
thực
week
hiện hơn 10.000
was the
phi vụ
first manned
và đã phá
aircraft
hủy
downed by the
15.000
enemy in this
mục
entire
tiêu,
operation with
13 mục
thousands
tiêu
and
trên
thousands
đất
of
Iran.
flights. They got lucky. It was a lucky hit. You know, eventually you get lucky.
Và cái việc mà
But
bắn trúng F-15
we
là
got
nó
lucky
ăn
too because we
may
got
thôi.
both of them back. But it's a record that is unparalleled in the history of military air operations. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. It's such an honor to be involved with it. We were up late at night, and then we were waiting for those contingent planes to come in, and we say, come on, let's go, get in, because they're waiting out on this farm without a runway, with wet, crummy soil, sand, mostly sand, wet sand, and it eats planes alive, and we're waiting, and we're saying, I hope that one can land and take off. And they came in like magic, boom, 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 one after another. It was like genius. So impressed by that. Because we were a
Ông
little
cũng nói về
concerned.
việc
We said,
là
boy,
if
they don't get in and get up fast, we're sitting in the middle. And that's
rồi sau đó mới
called
khai hỏa
Iran Prime,
vào
right,
lực
General?
lượng của Iran.
That's where the whole bet is. And here we are sitting there waiting for a plane. But they came in so fast and so hard, and these guys knew exactly
Và
what
họ
to do.
đã
Let's
làm
go,
rất
come
là
on,
nhanh
get in,
và
let's
với cái
go.
hỏa lực
Wow.
rất là mạnh
They came
để
one
có
right
thể
after another, not at
ngăn
the same
chặn
time.
những cái sự truy bắt
They don't want to come
của
at the
kẻ
same
thù
time. They
và
had to
nhanh
come right
chóng
after
cứu
each
được
other. They didn't have
ông
any
đại tá
room. There
này.
was barely any room to land. Tiny little patch of very wet earth and sand. So I'm so proud of the people that I have standing up here with me, and many others that worked. I mean, so many. Steve Witkoff's over here. He's doing fantastically. Jared
Ông rất là
Kushner.
tự hào với đội ngũ
But the
của
people
mình
that are here, the job they did is
về
amazing.
quân
And I
sự
think
và cũng như về
I'm
ngoại
going to
giao.
introduce the head of the CIA, and he is a man he's central casting, okay? If we cast a movie, he's going to play the head of the CIA. He's one of the few. John Ratcliffe, he did a phenomenal job that night. He did something that I don't know if you want to talk about it. If you want, you can. I'm not sure you're supposed to. I'm not going to talk about it. But the CIA was very responsible for finding this little speck. It's like they used an expression on one of the shows. The general was talking about, it's like finding a needle in a haystack, finding this pilot. And the CIA was unbelievable. And you may, if you can, you'll talk. It might be classified, in which case I'd have to put him in jail if he talks about it. And I don't want to put him in jail. He doesn't deserve that. So, John, do you want to say a few words? Thank you.
Và Tổng thống mời ông Giám đốc CIA John
Thank you, Mr. President.
chia sẻ thông tin.
It's a privilege to be here with you today to share what we can about this exceptional mission and to recognize the ingenuity and bravery of those who executed it, as well as the leadership and resolve of the president who ordered it. One thing that has been clear to me in this role is that the flawless military operations that the Department of War is known for are hostage to flawless intelligence. We saw that in the skies over Iran in Operation Midnight Hammer last summer. We witnessed it in Venezuela during Operation Absolute Resolve. We've seen it against the cartels in the Western Hemisphere, and we're seeing it every day in Operation Epic Fury, including this mission to rescue an aviator buried deep behind enemy lines. Because it is the unique tradition of the U.S. Armed Forces that we leave no man or woman behind, this was a no-fail mission. That was the spirit in which the president put us to work, and we were determined not to let him down or our airmen down. As an agency, the CIA possesses unique capabilities that only the president can deploy. Some of these capabilities fall under covert action authorities, and because covert means exactly that, I'm not going to be able to tell you everything that you want to know.
CIA có những cái
At the
khả năng
president's
đặc biệt
direction, we deployed
mà chỉ
both
có tổng
human
thống
assets and
mới được sử
exquisite
dụng.
technologies that
Và
no
vì vậy
other
chúng tôi không
intelligence
thể chia
service in the
sẻ được
world
thêm.
possesses to a daunting challenge comparable to hunting for a single grain of sand in the middle of a desert. This was also a race against the clock, as it was critical that we locate the downed aviator as quickly as possible, while at the same time
Và
keeping
chúng tôi đã
our
phải chạy đua với
enemies
thời gian
misdirected.
để mà nhanh chóng
For that
định vị
reason,
được vị trí
in
của ông
addition
đại tá này,
to the
và
human
bên
and
cạnh đó
technical
còn phải đưa thông
assets
tin để ngăn
deployed by
chặn
the
sự truy
president
bắt
to find our
của
airmen,
kẻ thù.
CIA executed a deception campaign to confuse the Iranians who were desperately hunting for our airmen.
Và CIA đã đưa
On
ra một
Saturday
cái chiến
morning,
dịch tin giả
We achieved
để
our primary
mà
objective by finding
làm rối
and
loạn
providing
những người
confirmation
Iran
that one of America's
vốn
best and
rất là
bravest
hăng hái đi tìm
was
cái
alive
ông đại tá này.
and concealed in a mountain crevice, still invisible to the enemy, but not to the CIA.
Và
That confirmation was
đại tá
relayed
này á, đã
by Secretary
trốn vào được
Hegseth to
trong
the
một cái khe
President,
núi.
and the
Dù kẻ
operation
thù
quickly
không kiếm
moved
ra,
to the
nhưng
execution
CIA
phase.
vẫn kiếm ra được.
Following the successful exfiltration on Saturday night, our intelligence reflects that the Iranians were embarrassed and ultimately humiliated by the success of this audacious
Và
rescue mission.
với cái chiến dịch thành công này thì chúng
When
tôi
the
chắc
president
chắn
asked me to lead the
nước Mỹ rất là tự
CIA,
hào, trong khi Iran
he
đã
made
rất
it
là
clear,
nhục nhã.
get back to basics, no politics, no agendas. Tackle the hardest problems and execute the toughest missions. This president is about results. And now, that's what his CIA is about too. The professionals at the agency and at the Department of War deserve immense credit
Và cái
for their
cơ
flawless
CIA này
execution
đó
during
là
this
cũng,
daring mission. Their
tập trung
skill,
vào cái sự quyết tâm giống như là
creativity,
Tổng
and
thống đã
courage
quyết
are
tâm vậy.
unmatched on the battlefield wherever they step.
Và cô
But
hợp
none
phối
of
hợp
that
làm việc
matters.
với bộ chiến vụ
And all
để
of that
tạo
is
ra một cái
wasted
sức mạnh vô song
without a
ở
president
trên chiến
with
trường.
the political courage to put them into action. Mr. President, I've had the privilege of seeing you act with political courage in the best interest of the United
Và
States
phải
up
có,
close on
và
a daily
vị tổng thống
basis,
này
and I'm
phải có
grateful
một
that
cái
this
bản lãnh
successful
về
mission
chính trị
has given the
rất là
American
vững
people
vàng để mà quyết định làm
a
điều
window
đó.
into that as
Nên tôi
well.
rất là vinh dự được
The
phục vụ
Secretary and
ngài.
Chairman will tell you that our service members' confidence is boosted by a Commander-in-Chief who has their back the same way they have yours. And I know that the confidence of CIA's officers is boosted by the knowledge that their work is informing a president who's not afraid to make the hardest decisions when the stakes are
tinh
highest.
thần của các
And to the
chiến binh
American
trong quân
people,
đội cũng như
your
là
confidence
các
should be
viên chức
boosted
CIA
by
cũng là
knowing that
dựa
the
vào việc
security of the nation
hợp
is in the
tác,
hands of a
tình
president
báo
who's
lên một
willing
vị
to
tổng
take on
thống
problems
mà
that
có
have
sự bản
confounded
lãnh
both
để
sides
mà
of the
hoàn thành
political
công việc.
aisle for nearly half a century. It is an honor to serve under a leader who just proved that you can believe him when he says, no matter what, we will leave no one behind.
Và
We will come for you.
rất vinh dự
Thank
phục vụ một vị tổng tư lệnh mà nói câu nào thì uy tín cái câu đó, đặc biệt khi nói rằng là không có bỏ rơi bất kỳ ai.
Well, John, thank you for the collaboration of the CIA as well, incredible and ongoing partnership. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Americans, and especially the brave warriors in our armed forces, over this Easter weekend, the United States military has once again proved why we possess the greatest fighting force the world has ever known. In two extraordinary combat search and rescue operations deep inside enemy territory in Iran, our warriors executed missions of
Và
breathtaking
chiến dịch giải
skill,
cứu này đó là
courage,
gồm hai
and
chiến dịch
precision.
sâu
When
trong
our
lãnh thổ của
warriors
Iran.
are unleashed, as this president has allowed them to be, they are unstoppable. When American airmen were down behind enemy lines, our forces and our president did not hesitate. Special operators supported by elite air crews and intelligence professionals moved swiftly and decisively into treacherous mountain terrain under the constant threat of Iranian forces closing in. Ultimately, it was an impotent Iranian threat. And today, as the CIA director mentioned, Iran's military, and we know this, is embarrassed and humiliated. And they should be. Now, these are not routine operations. They were high-risk, high-stakes missions conducted in the heart of enemy territory. This was not just barely into Iran. This was deep into Iran, involving coordinated strikes to suppress threats, deception tactics to protect our teams, and full synchronization across air, ground, and special operations. The Iranians are still asking themselves right now, how did the Americans do this? One downed airman evaded capture for more than a day, scaling rugged ridges while hunted by the enemy. When he was finally able to activate his emergency transponder, his first message was simple and it was powerful. He sent a message, God is good. In that moment of isolation and danger, his faith and fighting spirit shone through. You see, shot down on Friday, Good Friday, hidden in a cave, a crevice, all of Saturday, and rescued on Sunday. Flown out of Iran as the sun was rising on Easter Sunday. A pilot reborn, all home and accounted for, a nation rejoicing. God is good. Despite incoming fire and unforgiving conditions, our troops brought every American home. No American lives were lost. We leave no man behind. And that is not luck. It's the result of unmatched training, superior technology, an unbreakable warrior ethos, and sheer American grit. Our special operators, pilots, and support crews performed with near perfection under fire, and they were lethal. Just ask any Iranian soldier who dared attempt to get anywhere near that pilot before or during that mission. Death from above. Our troops turned a potential tragedy into a resounding demonstration of American resolve and capability. That's what excellence in uniform looks like.
Và đó chính là cái sự xuất sắc của quân đội Mỹ.
None of this would have been possible without the courageous leadership and ironclad determination of President Donald J.
Nhưng nó không thể được thực hiện nếu như không có bản
From the moment our airmen went down, President Trump made it clear we will leave no one behind. The first mission, the first of two, was an audacious daylight thunder run right up the middle. It was authorized in less than 2 hours from that pilot going down when we knew where he was.
Và cái chiến dịch đầu tiên là ngay giữa ban ngày và thực hiện một cách thần tốc. Chỉ chưa đầy 2 tiếng sau khi mà chúng tôi có tin và chuẩn bị được, cái người phi công đó đã hạ cánh xuống ở chỗ
as soon
nào.
as we knew where that pilot was, and John was certainly helpful in that, also executed immediately. You know, I looked up at my screen when the final mission was complete inside our SCIF, our secure facility. And we have a running VTC, a running coordination cell. And the top of it read 45 minutes and 45 hours and 56 minutes. For 45 hours and 56 minutes, we held that call open for coordination. From the moment our pilots went down, our mission was unblinking.
Chúng tôi có theo dõi hết.
The call never dropped, the meeting never stopped, the planning never
45 giờ
ceased.
và 56 phút là hoàn
The President
tất mọi việc.
demanded rapid, decisive action. He backed our military with the full weight of his resolve, refusing to let enemy propaganda or tactical setbacks deter us. His leadership ensured that every lethal and non-lethal resource was brought to bear, that our forces had the authorities and the support they needed to succeed. When the President says he has the backs of our warfighters, he means it. And it means a great deal, and it's a big difference on the battlefield. President Trump understands that peace through strength is not a slogan. It is a doctrine that saves American lives. His unwavering commitment to rebuilding our military and restoring the warrior spirit has paid dividends in missions just like this one. Under his command, America projects power with confidence and brings our people home with victory. And that continues Today, by the way, per the president's direction, today will be the largest volume of strikes since day one of this operation. Tomorrow, even more than today. And then Iran has a choice. Choose wisely, because this president
Và ngày
does not
mai sẽ
play
là
around.
cái ngày
You can
nó
ask
còn dữ
Soleimani.
dội hơn cái ngày
You
được
can ask
cho
Maduro.
là dữ dội nhất
You can
trong
ask
chiến dịch Iran.
Khomeini.
Nên Iran biết
To
khôn
those
thì
heroes who planned and
hãy lựa
executed
chọn
these
đi.
rescues, your nation stands in awe. I stand in awe. The chairman stands in awe. We all stand in awe of your professionalism and bravery. We serve for you. You embody the very best of America. To the rescued airmen and their families, welcome home. Your courage and endurance, the quiet declaration of faith amid the storm inspires us all. God
Và
is good
ông chào đón
every day. And to our adversaries watching from
cái
Tehran,
người
let
sĩ
this
quan
be a
này
clear message.
và
The United States military will go
cái
anywhere
cái
at
sự
any
gọi
time
là kiên cường,
to
một
protect
cái
our
lời
own
nhắn
and complete the mission.
ca tụng Chúa
We
như vậy
execute with
đã đem lại cái
precision.
cảm hứng
We
cho mọi
control
người.
the skies. You see, we flew for 7 hours in daylight over Iran to get the first pilot. And we flew 7 hours in the middle of the night to get the second. And Iran did nothing about it. We fight with honor, and under President Trump's leadership, we win. So God bless our troops, God bless President Trump, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. A note before I start, I know many of you want specific details in these briefings. We will share what we can, but I will retain what I must in the event that we have to go do this again sometime.
Tướng Kênh
And I
nói là mọi
cannot
người rất là
stress
thắc
the
mắc với
importance,
những
as the
cái chi
President
tiết
said,
trong chiến dịch này,
around
nhưng
operational
ông chỉ chia
security.
sẻ được những
The
gì ông được
Secretary and
phép
I will do a
thôi.
more detailed briefing tomorrow morning, and we look forward to
Và
sharing the
sáng ngày
details that we
mai
can.
thì hai
On
ông sẽ có
Thursday,
thêm
2
họp
April
báo.
at 10:10 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:40 in the morning, local Iran time, the Joint Personnel Recovery Center, which handles the Central Command area of responsibility, declared an isolated personnel recovery event for a U.S. Air Force F-15E Strike Eagle, call sign
lúc
Dude
10 giờ
44,
10 phút
which was
tối bên
down
Mỹ,
in hostile Iranian
và
territory.
4 giờ
The
sáng
pilot
giờ
and
bên
weapons system
Iran
officer
là đã
had
có cái lệnh
both
được cao
safely
xuống
ejected
cho
and
Bộ
were
Tư
isolated
lệnh
behind
CENTCOM
enemy
để thực hiện
lines.
chiến dịch này.
Following confirmation of active rescue beacons and on the direction of the Secretary and by order of the President, a rescue operation was launched with the
Sau
stated
khi mà
purpose
đã
of
xác
bringing
định được
both
cái vị trí
Americans home
theo cái
safely.
hệ thống phát
As the
tín
Secretary
hiệu
said,
của
several
ông
hours later on the morning
sĩ
after
quan này thì
positively
Tổng thống
locating
đang
the
lập
front
tức ra
seater,
lệnh và
call
Bộ
sign
trưởng
Dude
chiến vụ
44
đã thực
Alpha,
hiện cái lệnh
and
để
aware of
cho
an
quân đội
aggressive
được
ongoing
điều
search
động
by the
để
enemy,
giải cứu ông
a
ấy.
U.S. Central Command plan was approved by the Secretary and the President. Shortly thereafter, a U.S. Air Force Combat Search and Rescue Task Force comprised of A-10 Warthogs in their Sandy role, and I'll describe what that is in a minute, HC-130 Combat King 2s, HH-60 Jolly Green 2 helicopters, and Air Force
Và đã huy
Special
động được
Warfare
một cái số
Airmen,
lượng rất là
a
lớn,
package
hàng trăm
comprised of
phi cơ,
combat
trong đó
rescue
có rất nhiều
officers
trực thăng
and
và
pararescue
kể cả
operators,
các quân tạc cơ để thực hiện
audaciously
chiến dịch này
penetrated enemy territory
và đã
in
thâm
broad
nhập rất là sâu
daylight
vào trong lãnh
to
thổ của
find,
kẻ thù
fix, and
để tìm
recover Dude
và
44
để
Alpha
cứu
from
được cái
behind enemy
ông
lines.
sĩ quan này.
This was an incredibly dangerous mission, an incredibly dangerous undertaking, but a filled promise made to every American warfighter that you will not be left behind.
Nhưng
We will
đó là cái
always
sự thực
come
hiện lời
find
hứa
you,
đối với tất
and we
cả
will
những người
always
lính của
bring
Mỹ
you
rằng
home.
là không có ai bị bỏ
Over
lại
the
hết.
next hours, the Search and Rescue Task Force crossed the beach, entered into Iranian
Sau đó
airspace,
một tiếng thì
protected by a
đội
fighter
giải cứu
strike
đã vượt
package,
biển
and
và vào
moved
được
into
trong
the
lãnh thổ của
objective area,
Iran.
all under fire. En route, as some of you have seen on social media, the helicopters took gas off the C-130s and pressed onward and forward up into the objective area.
Và
While this was
trực thăng thì được
ongoing and out in front
tiếp
of
nhiên
them,
liệu bởi
the
chiếc
Sandy flight of
JC-130 và
A-10s
sau
and
đó
other
là
remotely
đã tiếp tục
piloted
nhiệm vụ.
aircraft, drones, and other tactical aircraft were violently suppressing and engaging the enemy in a close-in
Và
gunfight
các
to
trực
keep them
thăng
away
chiến thuật
from
của
the
Mỹ
front
đã
seater and allow the
tiếp
pickup
cận một cách
force
rất là dữ
to get
dội
into the
trước
objective area.
các nhóm quân của kẻ
During
thù.
this engagement, one of the Sandy aircraft, the one primarily responsible for communicating with the downed pilot, was hit by enemy fire.
Một
This
chiếc
pilot
phi cơ
continued to fight, continued the mission,
chịu trách
and then
nhiệm là
upon exit,
liên
flew his
lạc với
aircraft
lại
into another
sĩ quan
country
này đã bị
and
trúng đạn.
determined that the
Nhưng
airplane
mà
was
vị
not
phi công đó
landable.
cũng
This
đã
was
chiến
one of
đấu
our
là rất là
A-10
ngoan
Sandy
cường.
aircraft. The pilot then made the decision to eject over friendly territory and was quickly and safely recovered and
Và
is
sau
doing
đó cũng
fine.
đã quyết định là
After
bấm
picking
nút
up
bung ghế ra,
Dude
sau đó
44
là hạ cánh
Alpha,
ở một
the
khu vực
HH-60
của
Jolly
phe mình
Green
và đã
fight
được giải cứu
was
thành công.
engaged by every single person in Iran who had a small arms weapon. And one of the aircraft, the trailing aircraft, took several hits. The crew sustained
Và
minor
cũng có một
injury
số
and
những
they
phi
are
cơ
going to
khác
be
cũng bị
fine.
trúng nhiều phát đạn
A
của
note
Iran.
for those of you that do not know what a Sandy does. Named after the flight call sign that did this very mission in Vietnam, flying A-1 Sky Raiders and A-7 Corsairs, a Sandy has one mission: get to the survivor, bring the rescue force forward, and put themselves between that survivor on the ground and the enemy. They are committed to this. This is what they live for, and this is what they've trained for over many, many years. The A-10 force and the rescue force did a fantastic job rescuing Dude 44 Alpha. He was recovered Friday afternoon. As I said, and the nation needs to know this, this was an incredibly brave and courageous mission, and a testament to the courage, skill, and tenacity of the joint force and our leaders, and especially a daylight option. Having the guts to try means so much to so many. Meanwhile, the backseater, as the President and the Secretary have said, had continued to work and survive. Through the hours of daylight, Dude 44 Bravo, the backseater, evaded. Using every means available, the efforts of the United States military, the Central Intelligence Agency, and others were attempting to find and locate with precision Dude 44 Bravo, the backseater. A note on the backseater and the front seater. The single most important contributor to a successful rescue operation is the spirit of attack inside the heart of that downed aviator. Their will to survive, their will to evade, their will to recover is everything. In this case, the backseater's absolute commitment to surviving made much of our efforts possible. On Saturday, 4 April, after establishing positive communications with the backseater, we learned, as the President said, that he was injured and actively evading enemy forces. And thanks to our interagency partners, we were able to get eyes on his location and positively ID him. Throughout this entire time, the enemy force continued to search for 44 Bravo, and the joint force continued to strike them over and over and over again. Fighting off marginal weather in Iran and the enemy's search for a second time on Saturday, at the recommendation of the CENTCOM commander and at the approval of the Secretary and the President, we launched a rescue task force to recover Dude 44 Bravo. Again, this came to the President and the Secretary for approval, this time with a much larger force package based on the time that the enemy had to prepare to find 44 Bravo. Again, this force was protected by A-10 Warthogs using the Sandy call sign. And this force had one single mission: do everything they can to bring an American home. This meant having a plan, being prepared to execute that plan, and, more importantly, being prepared for multiple, simultaneous contingencies. And because of this force's professionalism, grit, and determination, fight off two enemies at the same time: the enemy searching for 44 Bravo and contingencies, which anyone who has done these types of missions knows we run into every single time. The force fought off both of those enemies incredibly well. During the period of darkness on Saturday, and as the Secretary said, into Easter Sunday and into the daylight, the force fought its way in and rescued Dude 44
Và
Bravo.
trong cái khoảng thời
They were
gian là đêm thứ
protected
Bảy nè,
overhead
rạng
by an
sáng là
air
cho tới hừng
armada,
đông
including
của Chủ
tactical
nhật,
drones,
thì quân
strike
đội
aircraft,
đã
and others.
chiến đấu rất là dữ
The
dội
force fought
để
through
tiếp
multiple
cận
simultaneous
và cứu được
contingencies,
vị sĩ quan này.
something no other nation, no other military can
Và
do.
cái chiến dịch này được thực hiện mà có
And
lẽ
safely
không có một
return
quân
Dude
đội của
44
nước nào khác
Bravo,
có
the
thể thực hiện được
backseater,
hết.
home. And all other Americans home as well.
Và
At
không chỉ đem
midnight
được
12
ông
local
sĩ quan này về
Eastern time,
mà còn
Easter
cả nhiều người
Sunday,
khác cũng được
more
đem
than
về
50
nữa.
hours after the start
Và
of
gần
this
50 tiếng đồng
operation,
hồ từ
the
lúc mà
Joint
bắt đầu
Personnel
cái chiến dịch
Recovery
này.
Center declared Dude 44 Bravo, both the front and backseater, returned to friendly
Chúng tôi
territory.
cũng thông báo sau
The
đó
courage
thì
demonstrated by both
hai
the
người đã được
pilot
đưa
and the
về
weapons
cách an
system
toàn.
officer while isolated, and them invading the enemy cannot be overstated. Their grit and warfighting tenacity is a direct result of the absolute trust they have in our rescue forces, their training, and their will to survive and
Và
return.
việc thực hiện chiến dịch
They
này là
always
dựa
knew
vào
that
những
we
cái
would be
kỹ năng
ordered
đã
to
được
go
trao
get
dồi,
them, and they
tu rèn
always knew
qua
that
các
we
đợt
would
tập
be
huấn,
coming to
đào
get
tạo
them.
cũng như là niềm tin
These two
vào việc thực hiện
operations
chiến dịch này.
reflect our nation's most sacred obligation to our military service members. We leave no one behind,
Và
bless
cái
you.
lời hứa
It also
không bỏ lại bất
perfectly
kỳ ai
captures
chính là một
the
lời hứa
first
thiêng liêng
truth of our
mà
Special
quân đội
Operations
Mỹ
Forces,
đã cam
that
kết.
people are more important than hardware. That is the standard we live by, and the rescue forces that execute these missions operate under a clear motto: these things we do that others may live. Their actions were a direct embodiment of that commitment to others, and I could not
Và cái hành
be
động
more
giải cứu
proud
đó
of
chính là
each
cái mô
and
tả
every
sống
one
động
of
cho
them
cái cam
today.
kết này.
As the
Và tôi không
Secretary
thể
said
nào
to our
mà
enemies,
tự
this
hào hơn được nữa
operation
về họ.
serves as a clear reminder of the capability and will of America's joint
Và
force.
đây là cái địa
The
sự
United
khẳng định
States
rất
of
là
America will
mạnh
recover our
mẽ
warfighters
về năng
anywhere in
lực
the
và
world
quyết tâm của
under
quân
any
đội Mỹ.
conditions when we want to. We will always bring overwhelming skill and firepower. To every member of the joint force, our interagency partners, the leadership at CENTCOM, and our leaders at the department and above, thank you. I'm proud of each and every one of you and thankful to our deployed forces and their families. And lastly, and most importantly, to Dude 44, welcome home. Job well done. Thank you.
Chào đón ông phi công và ông sĩ quan đã trở về nhà an toàn.
Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. And these two gentlemen have been, from day one, they've been perfecto. You know, I got to know General Kane in my first term because he was able to take out ISIS in 4 weeks instead of the 4-year projection that was given to me by other much lesser generals. And I said, you know, if I ever do this again, that's going to be the head of my Joint Chiefs of Staff. And we worked it that way, didn't we? It's amazing. He took out ISIS. We defeated ISIS in 4 weeks. I was told it would take 4 years. I flew
Hồi
to
nãy thì chúng ta đã
Iraq
nghe một phần
to find out with the
trong những
greatest
câu hỏi của
equipment
Tổng
in the
thống Trump rồi,
world,
nên là phần này
why
đó
would
thì
it
thằng
take
Michael
4
chỉ
years?
để cho tới khi
And he
nào
told
mà
me,
mình
sir,
tới cái
it
phần lặp
won't.
lại câu hỏi
It'll take
lúc mà
4
thằng
weeks
Michael
and
mới
you'll have time
livestream
left
Michael sẽ
over.
dùng
That's
những cái
exactly what happened. So he's great. And Pete, all I can say is that he was treated very unfairly. And now those same people that treated him unfairly, that fought against him, they called me up saying, what a great choice he was. They said, well, what happened during his nomination? What happened to you? I'm telling you, it's people that were not for him, senators, friends of mine. Sir, I don't think you're doing the right thing. Now they're calling me up. What a choice. These two guys are fantastic. And John Ratcliffe
Tổng
was
thống có lời khen
incredible.
ngợi
He's
cho
actually their
ông Hegseth và ông
genius
tướng
that
Kane, đặc biệt là ông tướng
called
Kane.
us
Lúc ông chọn ông tướng Kane thì nhiều người cũng có sự nghi ngờ, nhưng mà bây giờ
And
thì
he
không
said,
còn
you
nghi
know,
ngờ
we're
gì
seeing
nữa.
something moving up in the
Họ
mountain.
còn khen
This is at night.
tấm tắc ông Kane luôn.
And they kept the camera on him for 45 minutes. He wasn't moving, and they said, you know, probably wrong, but we're seeing something moving. This is a vast mountain, vast, thick. with bushes, trees. He said, we see something moving 40 miles away. It was the head of a human being, I'm telling you, it's moving. And then all of a sudden, 45 minutes later, he moved a lot. Stood up, and they said, we have him. And that was really the beginning of something incredible. We had an idea where he was, but not specifically. That's a big mountain.
Cái khu vực mà cái ông sĩ quan đó nó rớt xuống á, cũng có rất nhiều là bụi rậm, cây cỏ, nhưng mà sau 45 phút thì ông ấy đã ra cái tín hiệu rồi, chúng tôi đã bắt được cái đó rồi bắt đầu chiến dịch đi tìm kiếm.
Country it has super army. You make a difference, Mr. President. Thank you for your greatest leadership.
Thank you.
I have two quick questions, Mr. President. What was your reaction when you learned that Kurdistan region had resumed exporting oil to the international market with your support as United States of America?
Well, I expected that. We've gotten along with the Kurds for a long time, so I expected that.
Another question, what would be your reaction if the Iranian people rise up against their regime during a ceasefire, Mr. President?
Well, they should do it, but again, the consequences are great. I mean, they were told if you protest, you will be shot immediately. You saw what happened to the young wrestler. He was a great champion, by the way. He was a great wrestler, one of the top in the world. And he and his two friends were hung. And all they did was say a little bit about liberty. They wanted liberty, and they were violently executed. But the number is up to probably 45,000 people were killed. So, you know, when somebody stays in a house, when they know if they walk out of the house to protest, they'll be immediately shot and killed. And they issued that, you know, that was publicly issued. It's not a secret. That's why so many people say, oh, well, why are you doing this way? We can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. You know, we got regime change, we do. We're dealing with a much different regime than before. We're dealing with different people. They're smarter. I think they're sharper and far less radical. We have regime change, but we didn't do this for regime change. We did it for the fact, and my view was very simple. I saw somebody said, oh, he doesn't have a plan. I have the best plan of all, but I'm not going to tell you what my plan is. You know, they want me to say, here's my plan. We're going to attack at 9:47 in the morning, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to... And if you don't do that, they say, I have a plan. These people know what the plan is. Everybody here knows what the plan
Tổng
is.
thống nói là tôi hiện tại thì mình cũng đã có được cái thay đổi chế độ ở Iran bằng cách là qua những người mà chúng ta đang đàm phán. Một số người thì họ bảo là tôi không có kế hoạch gì hết, không lẽ giờ tôi phải nói là hôm nay mấy giờ tôi sẽ không kích chỗ này, bữa kia mấy giờ tôi không kích chỗ nọ hay sao? Và kế hoạch của tôi thì chỉ có những người ở trong bộ sậu của tôi biết thôi, chứ sao mà mấy người biết được.
So, you know, but we're just thrilled by the success of this operation. Yes, please.
Nhưng mà cái chiến dịch vừa rồi rất thành công và mình rất là mừng.
These attacks, but why would they want you to blow up their infrastructure, to cut off their power? Wouldn't that be punishing Iranians for the actions of the regime?
They would be willing to, and it's suffering. They would be willing to suffer that in order to have freedom. The Iranians have,
và người dân Iran thì sẵn sàng hy sinh cái điều mà tổng thống sẽ làm, dụ như không kích vô các cơ sở năng lượng hay là dầu hay là điện, xin lỗi, cái cầu điện của Iran để có được hòa bình, xin lỗi, tự do.
Hitting those areas, they're saying, please come back, come back, come back. These are the people. I don't know what they do. All I can tell you is they want freedom. They have lived in a world that you know nothing about. It's a violent, horrible world where if you protest, you are shot. Remember the great woman protests where they had 400,000, 500,000 women, and they were all enthused and they were going to protest, and everybody said, oh, the regime's going to come to an end. And then all of a sudden, boom, boom, 5, 6 different areas. A woman would go down right between the eyes. They had snipers. They had 5 snipers. That's all it took. And those 400,000 or 500,000 women said, oh my God, what's that? Oh, look over there. What's that? A woman shot right between the eyes. And after 5 or 6 of them go down, then you start hearing the purr through the vast number of people. And then they said, oh my God, who would do that? And they're incredible people, but they've lived so horribly. They've lived so horribly. You know, Iran was a great country if you go back 25 years ago or so. The Persian people, they're incredible, smart, brilliant actually. And I know so many. I know coming from New York, originally I know so many people from Iran. They're incredible people, incredible energy and very, very brilliant people. But when you're standing in a group and protesting and you have a woman, in the case of a woman, remember the Great Woman March, everybody was saying, oh, this is the end of the country. And then snipers selectively picked. Every single one was shot right between the eyes from a long distance. They were on top of buildings. Nobody even knew where they were. Where they coming from? This wasn't like a machine gun, which is also very bad. They've done that too. They did that recently. This was snipers
Không chỉ
sitting
có
on the top of buildings,
tụi cầm
aiming
quyền
and
cho
hitting women.
xạ thủ bắn,
And when they see
mà
people
đôi
go
khi
down,
còn
and
sử
all of a
dụng
sudden
cả
there's
súng
a
máy và bắn
riot
vô người biểu tình
in
nữa.
the reverse direction, and they never came out again. And a lot of the news doesn't talk about. They talk about, oh, women's rights. You want to see women's rights? You're not going to see it there. It's amazing when I see some of the stupid people like, you know, AOC plus 3, all that group. They talk about, oh, freedom for Iran. They don't tell you the real facts. Women, men, gays. How about gays for Iran? They kill the gays. They throw them off buildings. So I wonder what's going on. I can only say
mà
this.
còn cả người gay
They
nữa,
want us to keep bombing,
cũng bị
even if
sát
it
hại đó.
jeopardizes because their life is in much greater danger. They want freedom for Iran, but it's very hard for them to protest. I actually tell them, I said, don't go out. I
Họ
fully
muốn có được tự
understand.
do nhưng mà rất là
Nobody in
khó
this
cho
room
họ
would
để
go
biểu
out. I
tình
don't
được.
think there's any, because
Nên tôi nói
frankly,
họ,
it's not a
tôi nói họ
question
là
of
đừng có
bravery.
ra
We're all
đường.
brave, right? You're brave, I'm brave, we're all brave. But we're also intelligent. If you have people shooting at you,
Mình đã
expert
có thể có là
shots
sự
with the best
dũng cảm,
rifles you can get,
nhưng mà cũng phải
and
khôn
hitting
ngoan
you right
nữa.
between the eyes every single time. And you're looking here and you're seeing and you're looking here. You're out of there. I don't care who it is.
Ví dụ như bạn đứng đó, bạn thấy người bên đây bị bắn, bên kia bị bắn, thì bạn phải rút thôi chứ đâu có ai nào. Tôi không thể nào tôi nghĩ là ai đó
Can
sẽ
we go
làm
back
khác
to the
thì có
weekend?
được.
First off, was everyone on board with the operation, or were there people that were trying to talk you out of going through with the operation this weekend?
Not everybody was on board.
Somebody else within
No,
you?
there was military people, very professional, that preferred not doing it. These two were totally on board, which was very important. They weren't, it would have had a little difficulty. But no, there were military people that said, you just don't do this. You don't go into the heart of a very powerful military. You know, this is, hey, you have countries and countries. You have some countries where military is not their strong suit. This whole thing is militarized like nobody's ever seen before. Half the people are wearing uniforms. And we had people within the military. Usually it's not done. That's one of the reasons. You know, I was surprised. Somebody said it's the only time it's ever been done. I said, that's not possible. But it is possible. Because you're going into hundreds of thousands of soldiers along the path. I mean, look at some of the helicopters, how they got hit. So, yeah, there were people within the military that said it's a wise. And don't forget, how many men did you send altogether, approximately? For the operation.
I'd love to keep that a secret.
Okay, well, we
But
I will tell you, the number, I'll keep it a secret, but it was hundreds and hundreds of these people. That's pretty good. Is he central casting? But hundreds of people went into this journey. Hundreds of people could have been killed. Forget about the equipment, a lot of equipment, nobody cares. Hundreds of people could have been killed. So we had people that were within the military that said this is not a wise, and I understood that, but I decided to do it.
Was there a point that that you were thinking there's too much on the line, and somebody was saying maybe we abort this now and wait? I mean, given the resource, like the general said, it seemed like there was so much on the line here. You must have been thinking this could have completely changed.
So the first one, which was in many ways as dangerous as the second, I guess it gets, because we're flying over daylight. You know, we're the best at the world
Chiến dịch
at
thứ
night.
nhất á,
We
nó
have
cũng nguy
goggles
hiểm
that
như cái thứ
nobody. We
nhì.
have goggles. I've
Tại
tried
vì
them.
là mình phải bay
I
đi
see
tìm
better
cam
with
thứ
the
nhất á,
goggles
là
at
giữa
night
ban ngày
than I
vậy
see
đó.
without them during daylight. I mean, daylight today, we have a beautiful day. you see just as well with goggles. In many ways, it's enhanced. So we have the best in the world. So it's much safer for us to do it at night. Whereas other people, no other country has that capability.
Nếu mà làm vào giờ đêm
They don't
thì
have
nó
that
sẽ là an
particular
toàn
piece of
hơn.
equipment like we do. But when I was told flying and in daylight, I think we flew 7 hours over Iran, and that's a long time.
Và nếu mà mình bay giữa ban ngày ở Iran mà 7 tiếng đồng hồ gì đó thì nó
We
là
took out their anti-aircraft, which is great. We took out their radar, which is great. We took out a lot, but they still have, what hit this one was a handheld shoulder missile, heat-seeking missile. So it's not like, they're totally whatever. And they have probably a little luck, because you got to get lucky. But they shot it, and it got sucked in right by the engine. But these guys were out of there. They were great. Their timing was great. But no, I was told that this is a very dangerous mission. They didn't say it's a foolish mission. They said, we're going to be sacrificing hundreds of people do this. You have tankers that are flying over this area so that the flight was so long they had to refuel. It's a very dangerous mission. I just felt it was worth it. If you would have told me that we would have been successful, gotten both, and nobody was even essentially injured, I would have said that would be impossible. Yeah,
President,
thank you very
much.
Thank
you, sir.
Welcome back.
Okay, thank you.
Given that you are now dealing, you say, with a more reasonable, less extreme leadership in Iran, what does that mean for the protesters, for the human rights movement in that country after this conflict? What's your expectation?
If they assume control, if we do something and they assume control, I think it's very positive, a big step. I don't think you'd see the radicalization that you have seen in the last. Look what happened. Women are being executed because they're not properly clothed, they say. They're not properly clothed, and they execute the women. They shoot them right on the street. No, you have a much different group of people. Now, I'm not saying we are dealing with them. Essentially, they have till 8 o'clock tomorrow night, Eastern time. But we are dealing with them. I think it's going well. Mr. Witkoff is here, and JD's involved in the dealing. Mr. Witkoff is sitting right here, and I think it's going fine, but we'll have to see. You have to understand, we've been dealing with these people for 47 years. I'm standing here with a much more powerful Iran as of a month ago, not anymore. Right now, they are decapitated. But I'm standing here a month ago with a much more powerful Iran than it was at any point during 47 years. This should have been handled by 7 presidents, a lot of presidents. And those presidents are saying now, every one of them to their friends, we should have done this a long time ago. So it's not something I like doing. It's very dangerous, and we're getting them at the height of their strength. If I didn't terminate the Barack Hussein Obama Iran nuclear deal, they would have had don't forget, that was a path to a nuclear weapon. Remember this. He chose Iran over Israel, pure and simple. How Israel can vote for a Democrat is, if you're Jewish in New York City or any place else in this country, and how you can vote for a Democrat is unbelievable, because he chose Iran, a very hostile Iran. Remember when he filled up a 757 with cash, billions of dollars of cash, and he sent it over to them. Then they gave them tens of billions of dollars. He chose Iran over Israel, and really the Arab world, if you look, because, the other, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, you take a look. I can add Kuwait, and I can add Bahrain, and you can add others. He chose such an unlikely candidate. Nobody could believe it. Frankly, if you're going to choose between Iraq and Iran, he should have befriended Iraq. He went in the exact opposite direction of all thinking, and he made a terrible mistake. But that was a road to a nuclear weapon. And when I terminated that, everyone said, oh, he terminated it. It was one of the best things we ever did, because he had a road to a nuclear weapon. And it was a very short-term deal. Countries don't do 10-year deals. Countries do hundreds of years. You don't do a 10-year deal. For a country, you're a landlord and you're renting a store on on a certain street and you give somebody a 5-year or 10-year lease.
Tổng
This
thống
is a
đang nói
country.
lại những cái sai lầm
It was a
của
short-term
Obama
deal.
trong việc thực
It
hiện
was
cái
ready
deal
to
với Iran.
expire. I
Nếu mà
terminated it
chọn
before it
giữa Iraq
expired.
với
It took a
Iran
lot
nó
of
dễ
heat,
dài thì
and it
đã
was one of the
Obama
best
chọn
things
Iraq
I
không
ever did
chọn
because he
Iran.
would have had a nuclear
Rồi còn
weapon.
cho
Then he
tiền
would have had
Iran nữa
another
nè.
nuclear weapon.
Rồi làm một cái
Had
deal
those
gì có 10
beautiful
năm mà
B-2
người
bombers
ta
not gone
làm
in
là phải
8
là cả
months
trăm
ago
năm chứ ai mà làm
and
10 năm.
obliterated that site. And by the way, the word is obliteration. CNN said, well, maybe it wasn't complete. It was so complete that they still haven't been
Đó
able
là
to
tôi
get
đã
it.
thực hiện cái
It was
việc là năm
obliteration.
ngoái nó
But
dùng B2 đó
if
mà
we
để
didn't
mà
hit them,
phá hủy
that was a
những cơ
courageous
sở của
decision
Iran
too,
đó.
because we
CNN
had all
nó
those
không
planes
có đâu
flying
này
in at
kia,
night
chút phá hủy hoàn toàn đây còn gì
with
nữa.
very little cover, unbelievable stealth planes, and they were able to do their
Nhờ chiếc
job.
B2.
If we didn't do that, Iran would have had a nuclear weapon at a high level, either one of those two instances. And if they did, in my opinion, I told this to Bibi Netanyahu yesterday, Israel would have been extinguished. Large portions of the Middle East would have been extinguished, whether it's Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, or others. And you saw that with thousands of missiles raining down upon them. They didn't think they were going to be hit. They thought they'd be watching us fight. And all of a sudden, UAE got hit by 1,500 missiles. He would have taken them out also. And they were powerful. If I didn't come along and terminate the Obama deal, which was terrible, the Iran nuclear deal was a road to a nuclear weapon, a big one, unlimited, legally.
Trong khoảng thời gian vừa
I
rồi
terminated
đã
it
bị Iran
without
bắn nhiều
even
cái hỏa
much
tiễn
thought. It was so easy.
tứ lung tung bay vô nước của họ.
I terminated that,
Và
and then the
dùng
B-2
cái đó
bombers.
để ông nhắc
And
lại
I
cái
did
việc
one
là
other
phải
thing.
kiềm
I
chế
had
Iran như thế
killed
nào. Và Obama đã không làm điều đó.
Qasem Soleimani, who was an evil genius. And the reason I did it, I heard he was going to knock out 5 of our military bases. And had he lived, I believe we would be fighting perhaps a different Iran right now, because he's never been replaced, you know. And I did one other, but this one was not picked up. Osama bin Laden.
Thủ tiêu hắn đó thì bây giờ đã phải đối phó với một Iran rất là khác rồi. Ngoài ra là còn cả 5 cơ sở quân sự của nó nữa.
But you, as a president, to be a good president, I believe you have to have good instincts, and a lot of this is instinct. Yeah, please.
Thank you so much for taking my question today.
Dạ rồi, thưa quý vị thì tới khúc này thì là cái phần mà Trần Michael đã tường trình với quý vị hồi đầu chương trình đó. Tại vì lúc mà mới vô thì là mình nghe cái khúc đầu thôi. Mới vô là mình đang ở giữa cái phần trả lời câu hỏi. Thì Trần Michael cũng đã đi với quý vị một vòng rồi. Thì chúng ta đã tới được cái phần này rồi, là coi như là xong cái chương trình sáng nay. Tổng thống chỉ nhắc lại về cái chiến dịch giải cứu 2 phi công, đúng là một phi công và một sĩ quan hỗ trợ. Thì nhiều quý vị nghe thành là trung tá, là Lieutenant Colonel, mà sao Trần Michael nghe thì không ra được cái chữ đó. Trần Michael chỉ nghe được ra cái chữ Colonel thôi. Thì nói chung là cũng có khác biệt chút xíu, thì cũng không có vấn đề gì. Và ngoài ra thì Trần Michael cũng có nói là vì cái system mà Trần Michael hay xài đó nó bị hư cái camera rồi, nên Trần Michael phải để cái hình động như vậy, để Trần Michael như vậy đó, để cho YouTube nó biết là Trần Michael vẫn là kiểm soát được chương trình của mình. Và Trần Michael đã cố tình thu nhỏ cái màn hình lại rồi, thu nhỏ cái phần của Trần Michael lại rồi, để mà ưu tiên cái màn hình lớn cho quý vị coi. Nên là xin quý vị chúng ta chú ý coi cái màn hình lớn, chứ đừng có đi chăm chú vô cái phần nhỏ. Rồi thì trong vòng 10 người thì cũng có thể là có 1-2 người thì cũng cảm thấy là hơi bị khó chịu. Đó thì là cũng là do mình nhắm vô những cái tiểu tiết để mình cảm thấy khó chịu thôi. Chứ còn lại thì 900 mấy chục quý vị đang coi thì cũng không có vấn đề gì. Nên là thôi thì người ta nói là tiên trách kỷ hậu trách nhân. Mình cũng cố gắng làm được phần tốt nhất bên khoản của mình rồi. Thì khoản còn lại thì thôi. Đó là 9 người thì 1 triệu ý. Thì cái đó thì cũng không thành vấn đề nhiều. Đúng rồi đó, Trần Michael cũng thấy rất là lạ là tại sao có quý vị nói rằng là Lieutenant Colonel mà Trần Michael nghe toàn là Colonel, Trần Michael không nghe được cái từ đó. Thì không biết là trong lúc mà đang dịch có bị sót cái gì hay không. Xin quý vị thông cảm ha. Dạ rồi, xin được cảm ơn quý vị đã lắng nghe chương trình livestream của chiều nay. Xin quý vị tiếp tục nhấn nút like và subscribe cho kênh YouTube của Trần Michael. Hẹn gặp lại quý vị trong các chương trình tiếp theo. Xin kính chào tạm biệt.